This episode is intended exclusively to provide information and education to help individuals better understand cycles. However, this information is not be construed as professional advice as to the buying and selling of securities or other investment instruments. In no event does the host express any opinion with respect to or make recommendations regarding the purchase or sale of any particular investment instrument. There is a very high degree of risk involved in trading securities. Buying and selling decisions are solely within the personal discretion of each individual.
From the mind of Lars von Thienen, the most advanced cycle analysis, hot off the press.
Yeah. Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles, another episode of Cycles TV. So what are we talking today? Lottery. I learned just from the chat. So what are the cycles telling us for numbers in the lottery? No, just kidding. For sure not. Today's topic is about copper. So we will spend the next 15 minutes to analyze the dominant cycles active in copper. Before we move to that, I would recommend, and it's listed down below, we reviewed copper back here in June. And back in June, we just discussed that copper is in the continuing downswing. And in the end of May, early June session, we discussed exactly that screen here based on that time. So this is just an extract from the YouTube session where we highlighted still moving down end of May. So we triggered a sell signal with possible lows here down into July, early August. Time-wise, we have now arrived at that projection. So not just because copper moved down from 4.6, I think it's now trading around 4.1 or something here, but we will update this in a second. So these are the two reasons. First, let's revisit that analysis. So timing-wise, we should have moved down into early August. And for sure, it's time to update the cycle analysis. So let's see and let's prepare the screens. Here we have copper daily chart. Yeah, as we can see, we nicely moved down into early August. I mean, this was more on point. Yeah, what we showed here back in early June. So the cyclic bottom early August, just from the other chart, was timing-wise coming in early August, 3.9, moving up since then. So what happened? So first, I mean, that's just first technical view as it is already in the chart. As you see, we moved down. Here we triggered end of May the sell signal from the technical cyclic RSI. We have now moved down since, and what you can see here now, we just triggered a possible long entry based on the cyclic tuned RSI. So let's see if this is in alignment with the latest time cycles. So our cycle analyzer is already up and running. And here I would like to start. So you need to check here the spectrum. There are two dominant peaks which stand out in the spectrum, which is seen here. I mean, this in the neighborhood to the left and to the right. It's clearly a sharp dominant peak with a big triangle, which means has a good strength, a good Bartel score. Everything is fulfilled what we want to see from a spectrum, and also the separation to the left and to the right shows it is standing out of the neighbors of possible other shorter cycles. The second situation we have here at the length of 113 trading days. We're talking here about trading days, not calendar days. You can divide it by 5, multiply it by 7, then you arrive at the approximate calendar days length, 113 days. Again, a nice separation in the spectrum to the other cycles to the left and to the right. It is a nice sharp peak, what we always want to see. Green triangle, good statistical significance. And the triangle has a big size, which means we have a good strength score. At the third one, but this is not as nice as you want to have these other two cycles here in the spectrum, could become this longer term cycle. But then maybe it's better to move to weekly series, because it is not looking that nice. Even you see the size of the triangle is not as large, it's smaller. So these are the key cycles to go first, because they are from a subjective perspective, the cycles you would choose as a cycle analyst. We can find them here also up in our spectrum. So here the length of 113, as said, high strength, high Bartels, and then the second one is here 42, that's interesting. No, that's the 56. Yeah, I made a mix of 56 and then maybe 42, but I think 56, right? So let's start with the 113, right? We activated. This is when the cycle pops up, and you see, timing-wise, we are exactly not only at what we did expect, from the past analysis back here in June. It's now updating up to today. This cycle is currently bottoming, indicating a possible upswing from the last downswing, which might now follow. If you just check the view of the changes in trend, because that's what we are monitoring here at the foundation. I always need to repeat that. We are not here about projecting price targets. It's just about projecting the timing when changes in trend occur. So here's the top in price. Here's the low assigned with this timing low. And we have the top here. So you can connect on the price axis. Here's the expected low timing wise here. Then moving into this top here. So I will just mark it at a zigzag curve. Here we have, it's slightly out of phase, but you see how it works. This is the low, then the next price series top, exactly at this projection here, then coming down to this. It's not the absolute low, it's always the relative low in the current timing. Then going up into this top here, aligned with this low, we have this swing here. Then the down move, let's say somewhere here, not the final low, but at least the interim low, and the next top here. So you see, just by connecting timing-wise where that cycle would have been in the past, looks like we have a very nice similarity between the timing correlation, not the price target correlation. That's also just to remember us on that, why correlation scores don't work or are not useful. If you do a correlation between price and cycles, because we are just interested in the time component of a cycle, not about the absolute price moves. It's just the relative price moves, so that we have the changes in trend. But as just reviewed here, it's a quick visual check. Otherwise, it's just that you want to have also visual confirmation, before putting anything on the table here. And the final top is right in place. So now it needs to be proven if this is cyclic low. We are not aware of that yet, but at least that cycle seems to be interesting in looking at that cycle. And by the way, if you would do the math, as I said, this is 113 calendar days. So this is similar to divide by 5, multiply by 7, and I think then you will arrive at 150 calendar days cycle. So that's the 150 calendar days cycle, now giving room for an upswing potential. Adding the shorter term cycles here, so the 51, which gives us a slight skew, but to be honest, same situation or same projection. So we are arriving or are already close to the low, moving up now into a longer upswing projection, going into September or even October. This can also be seen if we would switch on. It's just a different view on the energy model for that chart here, so that we see just from now on, this is today, it's just another visualization. You see a lot of positive green energy is coming now into the copper environment from that cycle until early October. Yeah, so it's a different view how to visualize this. Maybe from time to time I will bring more examples on the energy cycles energy visualization into the room. So this is the 113 together with the 51. We could even bring in the 42 cycle here, and you see we are more fitting the price action with those cycles. And what I always suggest is never use more than 2 to 3 cycles in any projection. I mean, we could add more cycles to that projection. It might look even better. So just assume you could activate all cycles, which have been found, and you will see that it's almost a perfect shape looking into the past, but it's not useful for any projection. But even if we would do this stupid things, what we would see is that all cycles agree. This is a major bottoming here. So regardless of which cycle you would choose or which combination of cycles you would choose at this given point here, it seems to look like we even the composite out of all cycles, if you would give it an average. So, I mean, timing-wise, there's no doubt. And then it depends a little bit how those cycles sum up or which cycle is more dominant than the other. So this is just a theoretical example, but the main dominant cycle at this given point here is shown here by this number. So there's not much more to talk about, to be honest. This is the daily perspective. What you should always do, and I will do this next, is to bring in the longer term scene or regime where copper is in. So if this is our time frame we are interested in, the next higher one would be the weekly analysis. Therefore, let's switch. Here we have no, that's not the weekly. Here we have, Here we have the weekly series. You can see this here by using weekly data on the copper futures. And here now analyzing, we have not finally generated that signal here on the weekly, but it starts to turn up from the technical condition. And now looking into the spectrum, I think there's no discussion needed in regards to what's here the dominant cycle. And you see even the shorter ones, they are all on the same level. So we don't have that separation, which we just have seen on the daily cycles, where we have clearly identified 2 cycles jumping out of that spectrum, which we don't have here. So the only cycle who's really jumping out is the 188 weeks cycle here. So a very long cycle. And if we check where we are in that cycle, the long-term cycle is still pointing upwards into January next year. So we are now coming into a situation where it looks like we have an interesting alignment of the short-term dominant daily cycles, 113, 42, 50, which are currently bottoming and reversing to the upside, which is in alignment with the underlying long-term weekly cycle, which is still positive into January next year, which in combination could give us a good chance that copper prices might move to the upside. But as said, I mean, you have the disclaimer. This is highly speculative. This might be completely wrong. This is pure cycle analysis. As every commodity, you need to always set this into the context of the global and macro specific data context. But we're here to analyze cycles, and this is what the cycles tell us on copper. So we don't need to spend more time just to come to the same conclusion again and again. So therefore, even a short episode might be a clear one, instead of getting too much into the analysis. But I hope this shows how cycle analysis is done. We have a clear view on copper, and it even proved out in June, so you can use the time, if you would have expected a longer episode, get back and rewatch the June session where we showed this already. So we have even more confidence that the cycles seem to be working in copper right now. As always, I'm live, and I would sure take some time to get through your questions. So I will now prepare a little bit here my desk to be able to see if you have some questions. If not, just use the time to throw them in. Let me show you the questions here so that you can read. Palladium, platinum. Yeah, I mean, we have some time. Why not? So yes, I will pick up that in a second. By the way, could you do me a favor and put the symbol name for Yahoo Finance for Palladium in the chat, so that I don't need to look it up, and then I will open the chart in a second here together with you. So please just put it in the chat section, and then we will have a look. NH, yeah, that's an interesting point for discussion. Commodity strength may be due to a weaker US dollar. I wonder if copper in another currency would present the same picture. So, I mean, while you are talking about that, what would be interesting is to measure copper measured in price of gold. So always the commodity to gold ratio is an interesting data set to analyze. So in order to analyze what you are proposing here, I would suggest use the copper versus gold, so you can build that asset by your own in your charting application, then put this ratio, copper to gold ratio, into the cycle analyzer and see if you would find the same cycle. At least, so very good proposal. I showed here several times on the channel the gold to something ratio. And this is exactly to bring out the dollar or the specific currency. Just see the movement of copper relative to gold. And that's often also the cyclic behavior in commodities compared to the gold price. So that would be an interesting follow-up. Okay, I would be looking for the futures symbol, but we could also check the ETF. Okay, here you have it. So that's, maybe someone can confirm, but I'm happy to just open that up in another chart. I mean, let's start with the ETF. So if we can find the, let me just open. Just trying to bring up the symbol. Physical palladium shares, yeah. Pile. So let's open. All right, so I will start with that symbol now. This is the daily price. I'm just doing what you confirm. So if this symbol is wrong, you need to also give me an idea, and I will come back to the futures contract then in a second. So, oh, this is a big down move here. Interesting. And yeah, by the way, that's also then often the case. If you have this more downward trending linear situation in the underlying data set, it's hard to identify cycles out of that. So that's why the spectrum is also, at least on the daily, on that short-term period, not really looking perfect. So I don't see peaks in that spectrum which would qualify to project cycles. I mean, okay, we have this bigger one here at 180 weeks, but it's not really looking nice. This is a flat plateau, cannot be used, and these also don't look promising. So I don't want to use any cycle out of that, to be honest. What we could do is now we could add more data, to at least maybe to get a better understanding on the longer term perspective here, which I'm just trying to do now. And you see the spectrum changes and the cycles maybe get a little bit clearer, but also here I think we have this big up and then this big down move. So we need to check if there is a cyclic behavior, what I'm trying to circle in, belong this trend aspects, because we are not grabbing the trend with the cycle analyzer. So you see it's even blue here, right? So the statistical significance is not really high. So we have a medium Bartel score, it's just blue. I mean, the peak is okay, statistical significance is not okay. So even if we use this longer term period, it might help partially to detect the underlying, so the key top, the low, here again the top. But yeah, as it then flattens out here a lot, so it's not really reliable. And that's also what the Bartel score tells us with this low number. So the cycle is there once, twice, maybe 3 times. But overall iterations in this chart here, it has not a high statistical significance. So yeah, no, I'm not happy with this one, even though also in the shorter. So in the closer period, as you see, it's not giving valid information. Let me bring in another view here. So you see it's flattening out. If you can at least see it here. So the blue line is the price action. Normally you would like to see the light blue line here to swing in alignment with the theoretical cycle. What happened in the past, you see, so here in 2020, 2021, we had a nice alignment. This was here when we observed these larger swings here. So at that point, so 2020 until maybe early 2022, at that point here. But then you see this cycle has flattened out. So you see, which means, talking about cyclic information, the amplitude variation is very high. So back in 2020, 22, that cycle with that amplitude was highly valid and impacting swings, while today, maybe this cycle is there today, but the amplitude of this cycle has a high variation and is very low right now. So it's not a cycle which has any impact on current price movements. So the amplitude variation could go in whatever direction moving forward. We don't know how the modulation of the variation behaves. But in today's situation, that amplitude has gone low, the cycle has gone silent, yeah. So therefore not really useful for daily projections. So I'm sorry to say it that way. What we could do is we could now switch to the weekly series to have even a broader picture. And to go to the weekly, let's use the futures contract. You also have brought in the futures symbol. So let me adjust and pull up the futures on the weekly perspective, which is what we see here. Let's clean up the chart first. So here we have the weekly series now going back until 2008. Again, I mean, look at the spectrum. Not useful for cycle analysis. And yeah, that might also be the case. Not every asset reveals a dominant cycle for us at any given point. And therefore, I have no answer, to be honest, based on dynamic time cycles. What is the most promising cycle here? There's nothing. We could even add more data to the mix, so extend it. But even using now 25 years of data on the weekly, this one, no, you can't use that. Let's open a fresh chart. Maybe this is skewed. Let's give it another try. So just opening a fresh window. Yeah, but no, not a different view here. So I tried my best. Sit, Gule breaks. But as I showed, or at least tried to show, at least short term, and I hope you got the point that there is no real cycle to be useful from the spectrum. I mean, there are certain blips, but nothing which qualifies based on the principles we apply here. So you know, and I outline every week what are the important rules you need to check if a cycle should be used for forecasting. Palladium right now has no dominant cycle, dominant dynamic time cycle, which we could identify with the cycle scanner. So that's the summary for today on Palladium. Yeah, okay. So I think I don't want now to open up to go to crypto and the US markets in this session. I don't want to mix everything into one session. So let's keep it short and precise. The main focus was on copper. There we had an interesting cycle, and it was interesting to see also the exact opposite today. Palladium, we don't see a specific cycle. So at least it's also interesting that you get an understanding about there's not always a dominant cycle. But if gets interesting, as said, watch the June show, check out where we are today, and then make your own due diligence and decision-making process moving forward. Thanks for following me today. I hope you enjoyed. There are different examples, and hope, like join live, I always at least one idea I will pull into the live session so that it gets more interesting. Thanks for today. Have a safe week and see you soon.